building is really, really special for me because it's part of my family history. And my grandmother told me about my great-grandmother who used to walk the streets of Ballarat. This large lady is my great-great-grandmother, Sarah Jane Ellis. And when you're looking at her, it's no wonder she wasn't molested. Going to people's confinements in Ballarat between 1900 and 1920. She was a big lady, almost 6 foot tall. She wore a black feather boa and these black jet beads, and she used to go to ladies in labour, and she used to go all around Ballarat and attend their birthing because she was a midwife. When the appointment came up here at this particular place, which was a female refuge, and this was for single women who were having babies, she applied for the job as matron, and she was the longest serving matron at this particular building. So she served from 1906 till 1920 when it was taken over, amalgamated into the Town and City Mission. Really, really special for me, this building, because sitting here in the boardroom, which is absolutely beautiful, she had her bedroom just down the hallway. That's how I came to look at the history of this place and do a Master of Philosophy about it. And I was looking at the women who knocked on that front door and who gave up 2 years of their lives just because they were single and pregnant. There was a big 8 to 9 foot corrugated iron fence all around this property. So as soon as they came through that fence, they came out of society into this place here, which was, well, some would say it was protection, but others would say it was to reform them. I went into the history of female refuges, and the first ones were actually to reform prostitutes and make them into nuns. And it's mind-boggling to think of that, you know. But in 1257 in Florence in Italy, that's the sort of thinking. So you have this absolutely, I find it incredible, moral authority of society and the social construct of people doing natural things and actually getting into all sorts of social difficulties because of that. When you came into this place here, this is the boardroom. So it was beautiful, it was big, it's what the public saw. The room opposite was another lovely big room. But as you go up the stairs, the little cubicles are about 6 foot by 8 foot, and they're really like a cell. But on the other hand, the women that came through had a place to stay, they had food, and if they were shunned by their family, it was a place that they could find sanctuary. When they were in here, there were really strict rules and regulations. So they must get up, they said their prayers at 6 a.m. in the morning. They must make their beds by 8 a.m. There was definitely no bad language allowed or light talk. Oh no, you mustn't do that. And that was a form of social control too. You weren't allowed to smoke, of course. It was all this sort of rules that they had to abide by, but they seemed to conform to them and accept them. One of the most important parts of them was the laundry. And this was symbolic in that the women coming in here were seen to be tainted. They were even called fallen angels or fallen women. The laundry was seen as a place where they could actually wash away their sins, and by some it was called a sanctimonious sweatshop because in summer it was absolutely, unquestionably, really, really hot and intolerably hot. And in winter, there are reports in the doctor's book of women standing up to their knees in freezing cold water and getting frostbite. There were some women that actually escaped from here. There was one I remember well, her name was Agnes Spence, and Agnes was a little bowerbird. She was a domestic servant, and she used to love the hats and the corsets that she was managing for her mistress. So this day in St Kilda, she got caught, and the policeman pulled her up and he said, "Excuse me, you've been accused of stealing." And she proceeded to take off some of the articles in the cell that she had stolen and hand them to this unsuspecting policeman. Anyway, Agnes was brought here in 1894, in April 1894, and she actually escaped 2 months later in May or June 1894. So it started in 1867 over in Grant Street, and that's quite remarkable too, because a group of 26 Ballarat women got together, saw a need to help these people, and they wrote to the government saying, "We need a female refuge in Ballarat." 1867. Ballarat was only started in 1851. They got together, they started up the Grant Street Female Refuge, but were they allowed to look after the finances? No. Guess what? They had to appoint a committee of men, or a committee of men had to be appointed. They probably didn't appoint them, because women in those days didn't have too much power. In 1880s, the inspector looked at the Grant Street Refuge and said, "In a town like Ballarat, this is a disgrace. You should have something better than this. This is so derelict and so badly looked after." So Ballarat people got together, and in 1884, Caselli made the plans for this place, and in January 1885, about 8 women moved in here with the matron. I just hope that they were helped. I really feel a connection to this place.